again, thanks everyone for coming out. This is just an unbelievable experience. It has been fantastic so far, and we're looking forward. We're about 21 hours into a 6-month mission, and so we are very excited for us. And I think I'm just going to close it with all for one, crew one for all. Bye, everyone.
Hopper, thank you so much, and actually thanks to the entire Resilience crew for that amazing tour and great event. Congratulations, Victor. You must be so excited. And this concludes the event.
All right, we copy, Jay. That was a lot of fun. Thank you for letting us give a tour.
And you can see Victor Glover has still not stopped smiling, and honestly, neither have I, watching that tour of Crew Dragon.
Yeah, and he got his official gold pin for passing 100 kilometers. That must be amazing. We mentioned earlier today that he did know that specific number of the height he had reached. Now he is out in space with the Crew One team.
You can tell that this crew really have bonded over the last several months training together. And Victor, really proud of his new pin. I'm so excited for him, his first trip to space. But a really interesting tour of Crew Dragon. Obviously, Commander Mike Hopkins showed us the seats that they launched in, and he mentioned, we've seen some really great views of that, but Soichi showed us what's underneath the seats.
Yeah.
And we got a good glimpse at that storage. And so he mentioned there was a fridge, not for ice cream, but it is a fridge that helps us stow science samples and experiments going to and from the International Space Station. And then Shannon Walker showing us some of those snacks. It's relatable to me.
Yeah, and actually it was really cool to get this kind of a tour because for the most part we've been seeing them in their seats. It almost makes Dragon look so small, but with Soichi underneath where the cargo goes, you can really see how large that cabin really is. And even though there is 4 people in there, they don't have tons of room, but it is pretty spacious enough for them to be able to maneuver around.
Yeah, and you could tell Victor was, it looked like standing up. He's in space, so he's not standing up, but he was able to fully stand in the vehicle and still have plenty of room. And I think he's a pretty tall guy.
Yeah.
So it does look pretty roomy in there. And as they mentioned, things are still going well on their journey.
This is Dragon for timeline.
Dragon SpaceX.
Hey, Jay, just wanted to confirm with you that we don't have any other planned activities that need the floater camera, and so we might go ahead and start doing some cleanup in here around the cockpit, getting ready for approach.
We concur, and that's a good plan. And Dragon SpaceX, we confirm the camera is off, so safe to stow.
Okay, we copy. Thank you.
But again, just absolutely amazing event. As we mentioned, they were using that floater camera, so they were able to really take us around Crew Dragon, which was very cool. And just confirming with Core here in Hawthorne that they won't need that camera again until they start picking things up and getting ready for docking, so they were going to stow it away. But that was such a special look. I'm so glad that we got the opportunity to hear from them. And the next major milestone for Crew Dragon will be coming up in about 50 minutes from now, and that'll be the transfer burn, the 4th of 5 major burns on the trip to station today. We're expecting that at 2:50 p.m. Pacific time.
We're expecting Dragon's thrusters to fire a little more than 30 seconds to put the highest point of Dragon's orbit just 2.5 kilometers below the station.
While we wait for the transfer burn, we can take some more social media questions. This one from Haley. What kind of personal items do they bring with them, if any? We talked about this a little bit. A lot of the astronauts, they only get a very small a very small amount of space that they can pack and bring things. But a lot of them like to bring photos of their family. That's a very popular thing to bring. So they'll put them up inside their crew quarters. As we mentioned, it's kind of the size of a small closet, so they try and make it as homey as possible. They're also allowed to bring up other special items or mementos to them, maybe pieces of jewelry, and they also sometimes bring up things for their friends or family and take photos of it for them. So all of these things are screened before they make their way to the International Space Station for safety purposes, but they do get the opportunity to take up some personal items.
Yeah, it's great for them to be on a 6-month trip, that they're able to at least bring a little bit of home with them on the station.
Absolutely. We're still
and SpaceX Dragon for food.
Dragon SpaceX, we're ready to copy.
Hey Jay, we show we're going to be coming up on our 4th meal on board, and so just wondering if you have a recommendation, suggestion for which meals we should be getting that from for the next one coming up.
I will look into that and I'll get back to you.
Okay, copy. So just so you know, we have had our primary ascent, breakfast, lunch, dinners, and snack.
Copy on those. Thanks.
You just heard them discussing the food with the crew. They make sure anything that's consumed or used whatsoever, they relay back to the crew in Hawthorne, because everything needs to be meticulously tracked aboard Crew Dragon and the International Space Station as well. So we have another note, this one, not a question, but a congratulations for Victor Glover, who, as we saw on that little Crew Dragon tour, just got his new wings. So excited for him. That means he reached the 100-kilometer mark, reaching space. When the astronauts finish their 2-year training period, they receive a little silver pin, and they don't get that gold pin until they reach space. So really exciting to see that presented to him on orbit.
Yeah, and with us being able to watch that live, that was really amazing that we could share that moment and that they allowed us to share that moment with them on board.
Absolutely. And we are still answering your Ask NASA questions, so to get that to us, go on Twitter, use the hashtag AskNASA. We will do our very best to answer as many as we can. In the meantime, this is a view of Mission Control Hawthorne. These teams have been monitoring the vehicle for 24/7, since they launched yesterday. So I guess it is going to be 24 hours here coming up in just a little bit. But let's see, another question. What do astronauts do for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's? These astronauts will be on board for all 3 of those holidays, and we don't want them to feel like they're missing out. And so there are small celebrations that happen aboard the space station. That's different for every crew, just depending on how they want to celebrate. But there are a few decorations up there, especially for Christmas. I know there was a sneaky elf up there a few years ago. Let's see what else. Oh, they'll sometimes celebrate with a special meal. I know for Thanksgiving they have a lot of the traditional foods that we still have on Thanksgiving too, anything from sweet potatoes to turkey. So they get those times to spend meals together, and they also get those days off like we do here on Earth. And they also spend time talking with their family and friends.
Sounds awesome. They still get to celebrate the holidays just like we do. We've got another one. Are there any difference between Endeavour and Resilience? That's a really good question. By design, not really. They both are designed to be fully functional Dragon vehicles. Endeavour was the first test vehicle that we did use in Demo 2, but it fully functions just the same way as Resilience does. Really no difference aside from what the mission entailed. So Demo 2, the astronauts on board did perform tests on their way to the International Space Station, but on Crew 1, no tests needed, so they are just cruising and enjoying the ride.
I love this question from Tim. His 5-year-old daughter Clara is asking why the astronauts were not wearing their suits in the capsule. Well, they were when they lifted off. This is a good question, by the way, Clara. Thanks for watching. They were wearing them when they lifted off, and shortly after the first burns, they were able to take those suits off and get into some more comfortable clothes because they're mostly in a coasting phase right now. And so for all of these burns that are taking place, they don't really have to do anything or command the mission. It's all autonomous, and so they're also perfectly safe in their normal clothes rather than in their suits. Now, they will put their suits back on once it's time to dock with the International Space Station, because that is a pretty dynamic
Victor here. Baby Yoda and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the hatches. Just about 24 hours ago, we entered Resilience through this side hatch, and to open
Dragon, SpaceX, we see good video. Are you ready for the event?
Resilience is ready for the event.
Copy, we're go.
a.m. Pacific time. After that was the boost burn. That was at 8:22 a.m. this morning, and then shortly after, the closed co-elliptic burn at 9:03 a.m. Pacific time. That's the most recent burn we've had, and that put Dragon in a roughly 10-kilometer orbit all the way around the Earth. It's called a co-elliptic orbit. So next couple of burns coming up are the transfer burn and the final co-elliptic burn, and that will complete the rendezvous phase for us.
And those burns are coming up in about an hour from now.
We're just standing by waiting for those views from Crew Dragon. We expect them to be using the floater camera, which is not a fixed camera inside Crew Dragon. It gives them a little more flexibility to get out of their seats.
Dragon, SpaceX, we see good video. Are you ready for the event?
Resilience is ready for the event.
Copy, we're go.
Okay, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome on board Crew Dragon Resilience. Victor, Shannon, Soichi, and I are very pleased to welcome you on board as we journey to the International Space Station. Currently, we're going to give you just a little bit of a tour of our home for the next few hours as well. And so starting, I'm sitting here in the cockpit, or the bridge, if you will. So this is where we are for launch and for landing, as well as when we get ready for docking. If you take a quick look here, you can see we've got three primary displays, touchscreen displays that we use to control resilience. And so we can bring up our procedures, we can bring up maps that show where we are over the Earth, and it's actually quite nice, the touch screens that we have here for controlling resilience. We also have some backup controls here, buttons, so that if anything should happen to these displays, we still have some of the critical functionality that we can accomplish with these buttons that you see here. So that's pretty much it here in the cockpit, and so now I'm going to pass you off to Ike.
Hello, everyone. Victor here. Baby Yoda and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the hatches. Just about 24 hours ago, we entered resilience through this side hatch, and to open that hatch again until we are safely splashed down in the ocean and the recovery forces are bringing us aboard the ship and taking us out of the capsule. So when we dock to station, we will actually leave and go into ISS through the forward hatch, which is up here, and it's based on the body axis of the spacecraft, so the nose cone opens forward and you can go into station in that direction. And at this time, I'm going to hand you off to Soichi.
And Soichi, for awareness, we're not getting audio from you currently.
I'm sorry. Hey, good evening and konbanwa. This is Soichi Noguchi. I'm now talking through the lower tier of the capsule. Many people see the seat, but Dragon capsule has amazingly vast area of storage. And I'm now sitting over the mid-deck lockers, and this is quite a roomy area. There might be some other creatures kind of slowly coming through you. And this is also a very important stuff. This is the storage area for the EVA equipment for us when we go up. And this is actually powered payload, and it is now powered, and it's like a refrigerator which holds ice cream. Science material. Science material for the ISS. Okay, that's the vast storage area underneath our seat. Now I'm going to turn over to Shannon.
All right. Thank you, Soichi. As you can see, with the four of us in this Dragon capsule, it's quite a bit more crowded than was with just Doug and Bob. And so I thought I would show you some of what it's like to actually live on a spacecraft like this. You'll see that we actually have bags stowed all over the place, and this is for a number of reasons. you can pan over here, Soichi, you will see up here we actually have some bags full of our emergency equipment, and we've got bags that hold our supplies, such as the shirts and pants that we are wearing now came up in these bags. You will also see that we've got things such as food and water stashed around, because every once in a while we like to have a snack. A little bit later on I'm going to have some trail mix. These are the water bottles that we have to drink out of. You can see it can be a little bit challenging because there is...
Close out this little tour of Dragon Resilience here with something very, very special, actually. This is something that is a tradition within the astronaut office, and just to give you a little history on it, so when you first are selected as an astronaut and you come in for your basic training, you go through about 2 years of training to become an astronaut. And then once that is complete and you graduate, we give each candidate now becomes an astronaut, but they're an unflown astronaut, and they get a silver pin. But once you've passed that 100-kilometer mark, you then get a gold pin. And we have one member of our crew who does not have the appropriate accoutrement for his uniform, and so we're very to be able to give Victor Glover his gold astronaut pin for passing 100 kilometers. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Crew one.
Crew one. Again, thanks everyone for coming out. This is just an unbelievable experience. It has been fantastic so far, and we're looking forward. We're about 21 hours into a 6-month mission, and so we are very excited for us. And I think I'm just going to close it with all for one, crew one for all. Bye, everyone.
Hopper, thank you so much, and actually thanks to the entire Resilience crew for that amazing tour and great event. Congratulations, Victor. You must be so excited. And this concludes the event.
All right, we copy, Jay. That was a lot of fun. Thank you for letting us give a tour.
And you can see Victor Glover has still not stopped smiling, and honestly, neither have I, watching that tour of Crew Dragon.
Yeah, and he got his official gold pin for passing 100 kilometers. That must be amazing. We mentioned earlier today that he did know that specific number of the height he had reached. Now he is out in space with the Crew One team.
You can tell that this crew really have bonded over the last several months training together. And Victor, really proud of his new pin. I'm so excited for him, his first trip to space. But a really interesting tour of Crew Dragon. Obviously, Commander Mike Hopkins showed us the seats that they launched in, and he mentioned, we've seen some really great views of that, but Soichi showed us what's underneath the seats.
Yeah.
And we got a good glimpse at that storage. And so he mentioned there was a fridge, not for ice cream, but it is a fridge that helps us stow science samples and experiments going to and from the International Space Station. And then Shannon Walker showing us some of those snacks. It's relatable to me.
Yeah, and actually it was really cool to get this kind of a tour because for the most part we've been seeing them in their seats. It almost makes Dragon look so small, but with Soichi underneath where the cargo goes, you can really see how large that cabin really is. And even though there is 4 people in there, they don't have tons of room, but it is pretty spacious enough for them to be able to maneuver around.
Yeah, and you could tell Victor was, it looked like standing up. He's in space, so he's not standing up, but he was able to fully stand in the vehicle and still have plenty of room. And I think he's a pretty tall guy.
Yeah.
So it does look pretty roomy in there. And as they mentioned, things are still going well on their journey.
This is Dragon for Timeline.
Dragon SpaceX.
Looks like the crew is getting into some of those meals we heard them discussing. We heard them talking with the Corps, the crew operations and resources engineer here in Hawthorne about where they could find their next meals. As a reminder, each of the crew members has 12 meals for this flight. However, I don't think they'll need a full 12 for this 27-hour rendezvous. But who knows? I mean, space travel is hungry work. So they could go through it all. They have some snacks as well. And these are these MRE meals. You want to talk about that?
These are prepackaged meals that are ready to eat. Literally, that's what MRE stands for, are meals ready to eat. Makes it really convenient for them on Dragon that they can just open up their packages and start eating. They don't need to rehydrate them or heat them up or add any other ingredients. They're just ready to go.
Dragon SpaceX for stowage.
And go ahead for storage.
Yeah, I just wanted to pass up just a general reminder. The carry-on bags, they do not meet flammability requirements. I just wanted to let you know that as you're reconfiguring the cabin, those are designed to be easy to remove and stow back into the overhead bags.
Okay, copy. Carry-on bags are not flame resistant, so we'll get them put back. Thanks.
And that was the crew and the Corps noting that some of the bags they're using aren't flame resistant. That's something that we track meticulously as well when in space. The last thing you want is a fire on a spacecraft, and so to mitigate that, we can put those flammable bags inside non-flammable bags and help solve some of that problem.
It looks like they're doing that right now. But they are getting ready to eat, as we mentioned. They were pulling out some of those MREs. If you're just now joining us, the crew on board Dragon Resilience has their meals ready to eat. Hopefully we'll be enjoying them shortly.
Well, I believe this is their second meal of the day. I think they had breakfast earlier. Not quite sure what they might be eating, but compared to their breakfasts yesterday when they got on the Crew Dragon just before launch, those were pretty hearty meals.
Oh yeah, steak and curry.
Hamburgers, yes.
And the next major burn coming up is the transfer burn at about 2:50 p.m. Pacific time. This will be the fourth of the 5 major burns. So we've got 3 major burns down. We have the transfer burn coming up next, and then shortly after the transfer burn will be the co-elliptic burn, which will be the final burn, and that will be at approximately 3:36 p.m. Pacific time.
And that transfer burn, it's a pretty short burn. It's only 44 seconds and should propel Dragon at 3 meters per second. It will raise Dragon's apogee, or the highest point of its orbit around Earth, to just 2.5 kilometers lower than the space station's orbit. And later on, that final co-elliptic burn will be about 34 seconds long and should propel us at 2.37 meters per second towards station. And that turns our orbit into a co-elliptic orbit, meaning that we will maintain that 2.5 kilometer distance below station's orbit.
And these burns do seem a bit short, 44 seconds to 34 seconds, but they go a very long way. Again, we need precise maneuvers to get Dragon up and in front of the docking port in preparation for docking, which is coming later on today.
Yes, these burns use a mix of the service section Draco engine or thrusters, and those are around the body of Dragon, as well as some of those forward bulkhead thrusters. Those are underneath the nose cone, which was deployed after launch.
Again, if you're just now joining us, what you are looking at on your screen is a live view inside of Dragon Resilience with the Crew 1 team members moving around.
Looks like everybody is out of their seats. We can't see Soichi Noguchi's seat right now. His is just behind the camera, but they were preparing to have a meal. And this view coming from the International Space Station, currently flying 266 statute miles over Australia, the west, I would say West Australia right now.
Yeah, they've got some nice views of Earth from that Dragon and from the station. And as a reminder, we're about 20 minutes away from the next major burn. That is the transfer burn, coming up at about 2:50 p.m. Pacific time, followed by the co-ecliptic burn at 3:36 p.m. Pacific time. And if you have any questions, Leah and I are still taking more questions. Please use the hashtag AskNASA on Twitter. Send them our way, and hopefully we'll get to read some of them and answer them live. We heard those comms that they are preparing for the transfer burn coming up in less than 12 minutes now. Sounds like everything is go for that transfer burn, so we'll see that shortly. Again, the transfer burn will last about 44 seconds long. This will push the vehicle a little bit closer to the space station, about 2.5 kilometers beneath the space station with this burn.
Yeah, and just before this, we heard mission director polling, and that's the team here in Hawthorne, polling the team to make sure they were all go. And so everyone is on the same page, and we've got that green light. And you're right, after the transfer burn, we'll be moving on to the last of the final burns, which is the final, or the closed the final co-elliptic burn. I was right the first time. That'll be about 45 or 34 seconds long, and it will change Dragon's velocity by about 2.37 meters per second. That'll come up at around 3:36 p.m. Pacific time, so maybe 45 minutes until now, after the transfer burn, I should say. Currently, the crew is getting in their seats for the burn. We want to minimize the movement inside the capsule during those burns, but they do not have to be in their spacesuits right now. So we are standing by for more information as we get closer to the transfer burn. We'll make sure to update you, especially once the burn starts and gets underway. We'll be looking for that word nominal. Once again, it's our favorite. And we will let you know as we get closer what we can expect.
Yeah, and we're just about 10 minutes away from that transfer burn, so stay tuned. We will bring you back in so that we can confirm that burn start live and confirmation of the burn as well.
Dragon SpaceX, no response required, but just a reminder to minimize any dynamic movements starting at this time.
Dragon copies, Wilco. And SpaceX, this is Dragon with question on a line for burn.
Ready to copy.
Our event details say that we should salute to align the trunk with the forward velocity vector, and we currently are not in that configuration. Is that we're in the correct alignment?
Dragon SpaceX, yeah, that is correct. Looks like that event detail needs to be updated. This is the correct attitude. And it's about 45 degrees off from velocity vector.
Okay, Dragon copies.
We are just moments away now from the transfer burn that should occur at 2:50 p.m. Pacific time, the fourth of 5 major burns in Dragon's journey to the International Space Station. Recently, the crew maneuvered Dragon, well, I should say Dragon maneuvered itself into the burn attitude. It had its solar rays pointing toward the sun, and now it's configured properly for that burn. Crew Dragon itself is now 83 meters away from the 83 kilometers away from the International Space Station. We have quite a few checks before we get anywhere that close. And so we are standing by next for that transfer burn. we have confirmation that the burn has begun, and we will await to hear, hopefully, the term nominal.
Again, this is only a 44-second burn, so it should be ending shortly.
Dragon SpaceX, nominal burn.
And good news, we did confirm a nominal burn.
And SpaceX from Dragon, we copy nominal burn. And can you, Jay, we didn't see the Delta V to go on the forward view, or it wasn't in the event details. Was this a burn that you guys uploaded and didn't put that information on board?
Negative. Yeah, this is a transfer burn. This is the first mid-weight burn. So there could be some deltas there. This is different than Demo 2, so we'll take a note. If you can take a picture, that'd be great. And note that the next burn will also be a mid-weight burn.
But again, we didn't get it during the burn, but during the burn there was no Delta V to go, and also in the event details there was no DV to go.
Copy all. Yeah, note that the next burn will also be the same type of...
And then actually just to add to that, the duration, I know that's just an estimate, but it was definitely longer than what the estimated duration was. So without any Delta V to go to monitor, that was a little strange to see it keep going like that.
Copy all. We'll make a note and we'll discuss here and give you some words ahead of the next burn.
Okay, copy that.
And you heard the Corps talking with the crew, actually Commander Mike Hopkins relaying down some differences or discrepancies in what they saw on their data on the displays about the burn versus what occurred with the burn. It was a completely nominal burn, but the crew was unable to see the delta velocity changes that they were looking for on the displays, and so the ground team's working to make sure that they're able to see that information next time that we have a burn, which coming up will be the final co-elliptic burn. But again, as we heard, it was a nominal burn, so all good news for Dragon.
Everything looked good, and they will confirm that ahead of the next burn is what they mentioned, so look out for those comms coming up shortly. And what you're seeing on your screen is the live view from the International Space Station, spying Dragon Resilience from a distance. Some pretty cool views there on your left-hand screen. That small dot is Dragon making its way to station.
And let's see. Looks like they are only 65 kilometers away from International Space Station now.
Getting close.
That transfer burn boosting them just a little bit closer. The view on the right-hand side of your screen is from the International Space Station as well. And the International Space Station is currently flying to the west of South America, maybe west of Ecuador. And it's flying about 261 statute miles over Earth. Before too long, you can see it getting a little dark out there. They'll be entering an orbital nighttime, and that means they are just crossing what we call the Terminator line. It's an invisible line, but it does take you from day to night. The space station orbiting Earth approximately every 90 minutes, so getting their fair share of sunrises and sunsets every day.
And we are about 30 minutes away from the next and final of the 5 major burns, that co-elliptic burn. That should begin at 3:36 p.m. Pacific time and last about 34 seconds long.
And after that final co-elliptic burn is complete, we will be complete with the rendezvous phase of the mission. The rendezvous phase is from orbital insertion until the end of this burn. The following burns will be the approach initiation burn, and that's really what sets us into our approach phase. We'll begin integrated operations shortly afterward, and that's when our teams in Houston and in Hawthorne work together to get Crew Dragon safely to the International Space Station.
Component to this burn, so you can expect the trunk pointing to be per your event details. Burn duration, we're predicting it to be between 25 and 35 seconds.
Okay, so we can expect the slew to the what the event details have in there, and 25 to 30 seconds for duration. Copy for the heads up. Thanks.
Yeah, good readback. And if you'd like to monitor the actual trajectory, the Dragon to ISS view is a good one to watch. And we should be going into a co-elliptic trajectory.
Dragon copies.
Powiedz mi, gdzie są Mandalorianie, a wyjdę stąd i pozwolę ci żyć.
Niedobrze tak od razu przechodzić do interesów.
No dobra, czekaj, dobra, powiem ci, gdzie on jest. Siedzi w Mospelgo. Przysięgam na Gotrę.
Tak się o tego pędraka zamartwiałam, że aż spać po nocach nie mogłam.
Potrzebna mi pomoc. Gdzie jest Mospelgo?
Zapyziała górnicza osada, dziura zabita dechami.
Skąd masz tę zbroję?
Kupiłem od Javów.
Oddaj ją.
Na pewno u siebie w domu jesteś wielkim szefem, ale w tych